All right. Well, welcome everybody. Good evening. My name is Francisco Sirvent. You are not here because of me. You're here because of you. And this is why I honestly just absolutely love what I get to do, because what we do is help you do the things that are important to you, right? And you guys know that. You guys know why we do what we do. Um, this is the question, right? Does my estate plan need to be updated? I did an old will, I did an old trust. Do I need to update this thing? How often do I need to update this thing? And while I am glad that people are asking me that question, I really, really want you to stop and think. Shouldn't the real question you'll be asking is much simpler than that? It's, do you want your kids and your loved ones to love you or hate you after you're gone? I'm going to boil it down to that simple, because in all reality, this stuff, it just is that simple. I know for me, right, I have the ones in my family that I love. You have somebody in your life that you care about. I was trained by some of the best lawyers in the industry. Now it's been 15, 16 years ago, but I was totally shocked and really just disgusted, honestly, when I learned the dirty little secret in our industry. And I didn't quite hear it first time. I didn't quite believe it the second time, but then you hear it over and over and over again. And even now, decades later, yeah, it's the dirty little secret. And you guys want to know what that dirty little secret is? Yeah, basically, my whole industry is built on this idea that as the professional who's drafting the will or the trust, just do thousands of these. Just do as many as you possibly can. Do them cheap, quick, and dirty. Just crank them out, crank them out, crank them out. Lose money on it. It doesn't matter. You don't even have to do that great of a job. Just get it out the door, because that is your pipeline for the future business, the probate, where you can make the big bucks. Because guess who they're going to call when they have to go through probate? After your client dies, your name's all over the documents. Who's the family going to call? It's a total scam. I hate to call out my industry and some of the people that I know in this industry so blatantly, guys, but I need you to hear me that it's a total scam. So I want to make sure we land somewhere really helpful for you tonight. Okay. I do not want you walking out of here without a couple concrete things. Now, before I dig into it, I want to do a little bit of exercise, because I know on these webinars, I've attended a lot of these things over COVID and even before COVID, and there's a tendency to kind of lose your train of thought. So everyone, I need you to kind of wake up for a second, bring yourselves into focus here. Okay. Now, some of my clients, I know who you are, but some of you also came with something to write on and take notes. Good for you. I want you to grab something to write on. I want you to grab something to write on, because I want to do just a really quick exercise that we do with some of our clients. I've had people help me go through this, and it's been really neat. It's been a kind of a fun exercise, and I want to do it real quick with you. So grab a pen, I don't care if it's a little post-it note, grab something. You don't need something big, real quick. Or if you just have your phone, and you take notes on your phone, grab that. I want you to write down the answer to this question, because, I mean, think about our whole lives, right? I mean, how often do we go through life? We go through something that ends up being super, super challenging, something that was really hard. And we get through it. All of you here with me, you've gotten through it. Think back to your life. What was something that you remember that was just a challenge? I know for me, this is one of those things that I don't quite know how to. I guess I'm learning. I can't say I don't know how. I'm learning how to bring this into who I am as an adult. Like this question, right? Do you want your kids to love you or hate you when you're gone? There's no in between here. And And you all know people out there who are at the far end of the extreme. They don't care about a soul. They don't care about anybody. We all know somebody like that. You know, what are they like? They're selfish, they're greedy, they're not giving, they're not compassionate, they're rude, they might be even like abusive. I mean, these are just like, these are people who don't care about anybody. On the other end of the spectrum, there's people like you, like me, right? We care. We don't want to be that kind of person. And but how does somebody go from this? Like, I think we're all born without the horribleness inside, at least most of us, if we don't have a mental health problem. But how do you go from here to being that? I don't know exactly how. I have an inkling how, because I know some things that happen in my life, and I think it happens in at least at first in very small degrees, doesn't it? You know, if you guys watch any of the crazy shows on Netflix or other TV where, you know, like Breaking Bad, oh my gosh, like this high school chemistry teacher living a normal life all of a sudden starts to take just incremental risks and more and more. And all of a sudden, like at the end of the show, he's the ringleader of some drug cartel. It just a drastic difference between who he was and who he became. Or the Ozarks, it's the same kind of story, right? This suburban family, the dad's an accountant, and he just makes one little decision here, one little decision there, one little decision here, and now literally like working for the biggest cartel in Mexico. I mean, people die. Like, these shows are very extreme, but I think in our life we see how that can happen. How somebody's life that's just, you know, they care about people, they're compassionate, they want their family to know how much they love them, can switch all the way over a period of time into something where they just don't care. And I think it happens incrementally. When I was and I can believe that because of this massive distinction I have in my life, where when I was a teenager, I was a young teen. Some of you guys know the story. I I was a punk. I was not a good kid. I had a couple years where I got in trouble. I was a little punk, and it ended up with me in the back of a police car in handcuffs 2 different times. And, you know, thankfully I wasn't hurting people. I was just a thug. I was a little punk. I was a little show off. And I just vividly remember, you know, a couple months later, sitting in a courtroom, the juvenile record, the judge, you know, bearing down on me, you know, giving me like, son, you gotta shape up, blah, blah, blah. And something clicked. Something just clicked in me. Um, that it was like I didn't get a vision, but it was like I got a vision that said, your life is going along fine. You just went off 1 degree, and you're not that far off. But Francisco, if you keep going down this path, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you're going to end up in jail, in prison, or dead, and having hurt and destroyed lives along the way. Something gave me the clarity that that's what this was. And so I mean, my whole life changed just in an instant. Like, I went on to finish high school, like not a straight A student, but almost straight A student, full ride scholarship to college, got my engineering degree, met my wife, we dated for a long time, got married, went to law school, you know, just nothing but steps and decisions in the right direction of a person who cares about others, who wants to also be successful in my own life, who wants to give a good life for my family. And you know what I found out? I found this out a couple years ago. The friends I was with on that night that I got arrested for the second time, my best friend, I was with a couple, but the one who was my best friend, you know where he's sitting today, right now, as I'm talking to you right now? He is literally sitting in the federal prison down in Florence. he kept making those decisions. He didn't alter his trajectory, and he's now stuck in federal prison. What he's responsible for that landed him in there destroyed lives, hundreds of lives. And I look at that and I think, holy cow, Francisco, these small incremental decisions are the difference between your kids loving you and your kids hating you. And we don't know how much of an impact they have until we have hindsight. So the piece of paper that you have right now is to just do a quick little exercise of what is some challenge you went through that you overcame. What advice would you love to be able to give yourself? Either as you were going through it, right before, right after, what advice would you give yourself if you could just teleport back in time and say, okay, Francisco, look, I'm the 43-year-old version of you. I'm talking to you, the 10-year-old version. Look, don't do this. Go there. Make sure you don't become friends with that person or whatever, right? Or maybe you just go back to yourself and right before, there was a lot of pain in 2008 when the stock market took a giant dive. Some people didn't have good advice through that time period and they sold at the bottom. Maybe you want to go back to that person, say, look, don't sell. It's going to have the biggest, fastest recovery ever in the next year. Don't sell. I don't know. Jot it down. What advice would you give yourself like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Buy Tesla stock, buy Microsoft stock. I don't know. What would it be? And just hold that thought for a second. We're going to come back to that later. For those of you that don't know me, I changed the trajectory, and now our law firm has protected over $1 billion of our clients' assets from the government, from the probate system, from just horrible stuff. I'm married, got 4 amazing kids. Like, I'm so proud of my kids. I love them. My wife and I, we're closer every single year that goes by. She's my best friend. I've written 2 books. I've a radio show. We're an award-winning law firm. And our law firm was just ranked one of the best places to work in Arizona. Small decisions, right? I think we all kind of know what that is. So let's look at maybe small decisions that are this little part of your life that I think make a big difference on whether after you're gone, are your kids going to love you or are they going to hate you? Have to do the annoying disclaimer for just a moment. The State Bar of Arizona requires me to do it. What we talk about tonight, it's not specific legal advice for your situation. I know some of you on the call, I don't know all of you. I don't know your specific situation. I hope you learn something. Please consider this to be educational information only. To answer private questions, we do that in a private meeting, okay? I don't want to draw out all of your private information in order to give you good advice. So I don't do questions and answers in this setting. That's for another setting. Now, my goal for you tonight is that you walk away knowing the only way for your kids to love you and not hate you when you're gone is to have a guarantee around your living trust. It's a little different. What do you mean a guarantee? And I'm going to tell you, because I've searched, the only place to get that kind of a system for a lifetime is with our Trust Care program. I'll go over that, of course, as well. I'm going to share with you 2 secrets tonight. Okay, the first secret is Arizona's double probate system. For those of you that have worked with us before, you've heard about this. For those of you that haven't, I'm going to explain what it is. But if you're married, it's actually quadruple. Okay, it's not just double. It's double. We have a double probate system per person. All right. What do you mean, Francisco? Well, here's how it works. In our state, we're one of the biggest retirement states. You all know that. A lot of you retired here because of it. In Arizona, because we're a big retirement state, because we have a really sizable population of people who are retiring, a long time ago, we had a lot of exploitation. I mean, just abuse, just rampant. People, coming in, moving in with a elderly person to be their caregiver, and then just wiping them out, cleaning them out, getting their bank statements and going to the bank account, becoming their power of attorney, going to the banks, having them sign a new will, literally just wiping them out. And then the family came in, that person was long gone. What can they do? I mean, how do you go after a ghost? So Arizona has put in place some very strict rules that I promise drive me nuts and will drive you nuts if you've ever experienced it. The first probate is the one most people haven't heard about. They've heard about the second one, where that happens after you pass away. But if you're married, you have 4 of these. So what does that mean? So in a married couple, we had a gal who came to me, and her husband is under what's called a guardianship and conservatorship. So what happened is she called us and said, I mean, she was in a panic. She said, oh my gosh, my husband's accounts are all frozen. Our life savings, all I have is this one little bank account, but his care is like super expensive now. I need to pay the bills. And my financial advisor said to call you. So we sat down, we looked at what happened, and I had to explain to her, yeah, all the accounts are now frozen because, and she had a letter actually from the bank, from the financial advisor. And it said, we can't honor the trust that you have because it was never implemented correctly. I'll explain in a second. And we can't honor the power of attorney you have because it's too old. Huh? And then the third thing was, in order for you to get access to these accounts, you need to become his conservator. And she said, what's that? And I said, that means we have to file a lawsuit against your husband. Huh? So that's how Arizona works. The banks in Arizona are obligated. They are liable if they don't do this. They're obligated to lock the accounts down if all of the I's aren't dotted and T's aren't crossed. So what does that mean? Well, with this double probate system, the first one happens while she's alive, while he's alive. They had actually set up a will, a trust, power of attorneys like that back about 10 years beforehand, when he was first diagnosed with dementia really early on. And the doctor said, please get your affairs in order. They did. Unfortunately, they went to one of these places. They went to a lawyer. Total scam. The lawyer didn't help them implement the trust at all and didn't keep it up to date. I mean, for those of you that have ever done a will or trust before, when was the last time you updated it? I mean, I have to admit, I'm going to get into this. Okay, I'll admit that later. Double probate, first one is while you're alive. She had to then file this lawsuit against her husband, asking the judge to give her authority to manage the accounts that were in his name. Happens sometimes, right? Married couple have been married forever, but there were still some accounts in just his name. He had his stock options just in his name. His retirement accounts, his IRA, just in his name. And I think he had one other brokerage account that was just in his name. She had some that was joint and in her name. That stuff wasn't. And nothing was in the trust. She's the beneficiary on those accounts, but that doesn't kick in until he dies. Since he hasn't died, it's frozen. Now, they didn't implement the trust correctly. Power of attorney was 10 years old, and banks in Arizona have no liability if they refuse to honor a power of attorney because they feel like it's too old. And there's no law that says it's too old after a year or after 5 years. There's no law. Arizona law actually says that they're valid indefinitely, but a bank has no penalty if they don't honor it. So bank just kind of assesses. They're like, do we want to risk this? Nah, we'll pump the brakes and we'll tell you to go get the protections of the court system because that protects the bank. There's no liability for the bank whatsoever. So she has to file a lawsuit against her husband. We're representing her. In that kind of a case, the court appoints a lawyer for her husband, literally appoints a lawyer for her husband. And because of that, the lawyer who represents her husband, guess what they do? They start saying, oh, Your Honor, this is a complicated case. What does that mean? What does that mean in lawyer language? It's a complicated case. It means money. This lawyer saw dollar signs, and boy, did that lawyer milk it. This was about 9 months of fighting in court to get her appointed to have permission to access his accounts. 9 months. She's going to court hearings, battling against the system. There's nothing we can do. I mean, we have to forge ahead in the battle. And in fees, legal fees, she was about $40,000 in legal fees between us, the court-appointed lawyer. The court-appointed lawyer asked for a guardian ad litem, a tax attorney, and a long-term care specialist to all be appointed, all of them getting paid out of their money. She had to go through that for the first probate. Now he's still alive, and that was years and years and years ago. Every year she has to file renewal paperwork that says, here's all the accounting, here's all the money we've spent, here's the money he's received for Social Security, has to reconcile to the penny. And she has to do that every year, every year, every year. It's worse than doing your taxes. And it's about a $10,000 project between the bookkeepers, accountants, the court fees, and the legal fees. That living probate is a nightmare. I could tell you nightmare after nightmare after nightmare after nightmare. I don't want you guys to ever have to experience that. The probate after death is not as bad because we're not just trying to take care of somebody we love, but it's still a nightmare. We had one where this brother and sister's mom passed away, and pretty simple situation. The mom passed away, 2 kids, they're both grown adults, both responsible. And even though she had a will, she didn't have a trust. So when you have a will, you have to probate it in order for them to go collect the money at the bank accounts and stuff, because it was over the minimum limit, $75,000. But in order to do that, to go to the banks and collect it, they have to file it in court to get the court's approval on it. With that is a required giant stack of documents that the court says have to be disclosed to both of the heirs. We were working with him. Her set says you're not represented by a lawyer, and the court recommends you have your own independent attorney review this. And so she thought, she asked her brother, can't I just have your lawyer review it? And he's like, no, it's a conflict of interest. They don't allow him to. So she went and found somebody. And of course, what did that lawyer see? Dollar signs, it's the old, like Donald Duck cartoons with the dollar signs rolling in their eyes. I swear that's just what these lawyers see. And he started planting seeds, and he's like, oh, your brother didn't do this right. Look at that. I don't think this is right. We need to investigate. They ended up suing the brother, dragging it through about 2 years of litigation until we dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, everything was satisfied, and there was nowhere to go except her lawyer earned about $50,000 in fees and drove a giant wedge between these kids. And what do you think they're thinking? They're like, Mom, you had enough money to do it right. Like, why did you cheap out on this? And, I've kept in touch with him. They're trying to reconcile the relationship. That's tough. That's tough. This is Arizona's double probate system. You've got to know how to avoid this. You've got to have all the pieces of the puzzle in place, which is the second secret. Second secret is that living trusts are a total scam. It's a total scam. I mean, I bet every single one of you who have done a living trust were told it'll avoid probate. Number one, well, it's a total scam unless you've got 2 more things with it. It's like, could you buy a car with no tires? You can't. You can't. Or at least if you're going to buy it with no tires, they better disclose that it's not coming with tires. The first thing, you have to get your stuff owned by your trust. You just have to. Okay, this is called funding. And if some of my employees who came from other firms that do trusts and that have done trusts for years and years and years, the first time they hear about this is when they come to work for me, and they've been witnesses on these trusts. And they're like, no, our lawyers didn't say anything about having to put stuff in their trust. I trust me, this is out there. And we have a whole department in our firm that deals with probate. And unfortunately, that is growing faster than our estate planning department. None of those are our clients, thankfully, but it's just so many people don't get this done right because they don't know. You guys are here now, so you know how to do this, or you know that it needs done. You got to get your house in there. Okay, that's pretty standard. That's going to get done, right? Your house. Well, what about your bank accounts? What about your car? You got to deal with all of that. What about your life insurance? What about any stock holdings you have? What about your cash, your furniture, your jewelry? What about all the other crazy bank accounts that you have? And some of you got Bitcoin now, right? You've all got all this stuff floating around out there and you're like, no, I know it. It's in my head, right? Or they'll figure it out when I'm gone. Do you want your kids to love you or do you want your kids to hate you? That's all I'm asking. If it's stuck in your head, that's where it's going to stay. There's a lot of things you got to get funded into your trust. You must be methodical about it and get it done. Now, you also, that's the first thing that you have to have in addition to a living trust. Okay. We give our clients about 4 months. So some clients just right off the bat, they're like, we're not going to do that. You guys do it for us. Great. For those of our clients who are like, no, we'll do it. We give you 4 months. If at the end of 4 months, you don't have it done, guess what? You need to let us do it. And that's kind of the deal we make with our clients. The second thing is you got to keep it up to date as life happens. I mean, you may be in your first marriage, right? You've been married for 30, 40 years, 50, 60. I mean, I've had one client who was married over 70 years. It was so much fun. But I know a lot of our clients, they either are in a second marriage. Maybe they went through divorce and it's a second marriage. I know a lot of clients that they lost their spouse and years later they're getting remarried. It's a late in life marriage. That happens. That's a change that requires you to update your documents. Maybe there is a divorce among you or your beneficiaries, or a marriage between your kids and their new spouse. Those things require a change. Maybe you had children or you have new grandbabies. That requires consideration. Do I need to leave something to them? Do I want to? Do I want to make sure it stays in the family? Like, if it just goes to my kids after I pass, can they give it to their spouse? Or should I make sure to earmark it for just the grandkids? That might be long after I'm gone, but I might want it to stay with the grandkids. Questions, right? You got to think through these things. Or you've moved, right? Maybe you moved homes. Maybe you've added a second home. Maybe you've gotten rid of all your homes and you've moved into one of these beautiful senior resort communities where you don't have to worry about anything. Any change like that requires a consideration of an update. Or if you move to Arizona, right? A lot of snowbird clients, they spend half the year here, half the year back somewhere nice. Actually, Arizona is beautiful for half the year. I love it. If you do that, you got to have both states taken into account. You've got to. If you just moved here, you got to update the stuff from California, from Washington, from Wisconsin, wherever you're from. Our kids grow up, right? Yeah, so this is kind of a funny thing for me. We just yesterday, my wife and I just signed an update to our trust. And, I do this every day. And yet we sat there, we signed, and we both just went, oh my gosh, so glad we got that done. Like, feel better. Like, I feel really good about doing that. Didn't even really, I've heard so many clients say that, and I've heard so many families say that. And I forgot, I didn't remember until I said it out loud that that's just what we do all day long for our clients. And I was like, oh, that's so cliche, Francisco. What's even more cliche, I have to confess to you guys, is that it has been 7 years since I've updated my own personal trust. And I completely confess that the reason it's been 7 years is because I didn't put my own self, me and my wife, into my own firm's system. And it wasn't until I said something about, it was my wife's mom. She just passed away a few months ago, and she was the guardian for our kids. And so that prompted us to think, gosh, we need to update. Oh my gosh, we really need to update. And that took us down the path. And there are so many changes in my life over the last 7 years that I should have been including into the plan. Thank God nothing happened. Your children grow up, and as they grow up, their life changes. And you need to consider, what do I need to adjust in here? Do I need to put some more protections around it? Can I give them more flexibility? Can I give them some better planning so that their life is even better? Or you have somebody pass away like I did this year, and they were an important part of your family, important part of your plan. You got to find out, does that affect my own plan? You got to ask the question. And most of the time it does, especially if you've lost a spouse. Your plan has to be, there are steps that have to be done. If you have children, especially ones with special needs, those things change as they grow up. A lot of our clients that they do the planning when they're little, make sure that they are going to be taken care of, because the worst thing is to be taking care of your child who has special needs, and what they need, how to take care of them. The thought of you going first is crippling to the idea of how are they going to be taken care of. You've got to make sure your plan accommodates for that. And as they grow up, it changes. It does. And so you just, every year, you got to be thinking about that. Any large purchases, buy a new home, maybe put money into some new investment thing, or some tax strategy that moved it from this account to that account, new life insurance policy, all these things, they all affect it. If your assets have blown up, you definitely need to consider it. For a lot of people, that feels obvious. If you've lost a significant amount of your savings or your investments or your retirement, you also probably need to simplify your plan. That's a key element for a lot of my clients who, they just, unfortunately, they did lose a lot of money in the stock market. They had a plan that was built around the assumption that they were going to have a certain amount of dollars when they passed away, and they don't have that anymore, and they're not going to have that by the time they pass. And so you need to simplify your plan so that your kids aren't stuck with this nightmare of a strategy that they have to implement. They go, Mom, Dad, I hate you. No. You want them to love you and say, wow, this is really simple. I'm so glad they arranged it like that. Or if you personally want to make a change, you have a trustee that you named and you want to swap the names in and out. If you have business dealings, the value of your business has gone up, you've changed business entities, you've moved from this type to that type, you've added another business, whatever, you want that to be wrapped up into your plan. There's a number of things that have happened this year. They are things that you got to consider. The annual gift tax limit has gone up to $16,000, and it is per donor and per donee. So $16,000. So you got to work that into your plan. The lifetime estate tax exemption has gone up for an inflation adjustment. It's just a little over, or it's like 12.5 million, right around $12.5 million per person. These are the tax limits. The probate limits are ridiculously low, $75,000. Arizona's homestead exemption went up, so everybody gets $250,000 of homestead exemption instead of $100,000. The IRA distribution rules, they got a lot more screwy. So for those of you who are close to staring down, like, I'm going to have to start taking distributions out of my IRA soon, you may want to start doing it earlier than you have to, actually. Lot of good reasons to do that now, especially because the numbers for you are different and the numbers for your beneficiaries of anything left over are atrocious. So planning out that tax strategy is really important now that the new Secure Act is in place and we have some of the new distribution rules defined finally by that. So make sure any of those tax or legal changes affect you, find out if they do. So those are the big secrets. My real question is, do you want your kids to love you or hate you after you're gone? and kind of start wrapping up. But I want to, before we wrap up, I want you to grab that little piece of advice you gave yourself. A little piece of advice that you gave yourself back then. Okay, if only I could go back and tell myself to buy Microsoft when I was in high school. If only I could go back and tell myself to buy Apple when I was in college. If only I could go back and tell myself, whatever. Right? That piece of advice. What was that? Like, imagine if you could have given yourself that. Wouldn't it be amazing? So you want to know the ninja secret that we help our clients with? I'm giving it away right here, right? I should trademark this process. Here's the ninja secret. Take that piece of paper and real quick, just think for a second, however old you are. Okay, this works no matter what. Imagine yourself 10 years into the future. Imagine yourself like just 10 years into the future. Where do you live? How old are you? What is life like? What are you doing? What do you, like you're sitting here, what do you aspire that version of life to be? Just soak for a minute. Think about that. Just kind of savor what that would be like. Oh, we'd be on vacation somewhere. My kids would be older. They might be getting married. They might be, my gosh, if any of them are starting to have babies, I can't imagine being a grandpa in 10 years. Okay. That's you in 10 years. What would that person, for some of us, we need to consider the reality, right? We can't predict the future. What if we're the ones in heaven in 10 years, right? God, I hope not, right? I hope I have many years left with my wife and my kids. And I hope all of you do too. But none of us know, right? But that person 10 years from now, who's been through the experiences that you haven't yet, what would that person, your future self, tell you about getting your affairs in order? What would they tell you? What do you think they would tell you? Write that down. And then I have a special gift for everyone. I don't even know what you're telling yourself, but I bet it's some pretty valuable advice. I didn't meet him new this weekend, but it's the first time I've spent any time with somebody, a dad on my son's basketball team. And he was just telling me how he loves to write music and how it literally just comes to him. He can just hear something, have a conversation with someone, and be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. He'll get off the guitar and kind of just strum a new tune and record it real quick. And he's been to Nashville to do recording. Like he's a pretty legit guy. And I'm like, man, you've tapped into some real creative, like spiritual juices there. Sometimes I think the things we hear from our future self, I think that might be some spiritual guidance. And so we got to listen to that. What I want to give you guys, though, my gift for you tonight, because you've suffered through this, is what it is we do. I want to tell you what it is Keystone does. It's not available anywhere. Some of you, I see your names, you already are a Trust Care member. So if you are, hallelujah, good for you. You probably, have you taken advantage of your annual update meeting? I want to make sure you do. You don't need to, you are the ones, you don't even have to know what to do. You just need to schedule your annual review. So for those of you who are Trust Care members, call the office tomorrow. They're closed now. Call the office tomorrow. Say, am I a Trust Care member? I think I need to schedule my review. Whether you think you need it or not, it's covered. That meeting is covered. You get thousands of dollars of value as a Trust Care member. You get that annual update, that review, right? Otherwise, you're paying for that on an hourly basis. You get free updates to your documents that are in your whole portfolio. So if something needs changed in there, it's covered. Okay? Again, you're paying by the hour, if not. So take advantage of it. You also get an annual signing appointment to sign into those new legal documents. You will get our proactive updates. If a legal change happens that's significant enough, we reach out to all of our Trust Care clients. We get you in, we get it fixed. You also get something for your family. Okay, your family gets a free appointment at those 4, what otherwise would be double probate. If something happens to you medically and there's an emergency, your family gets a free consultation with the attorney. If there's a death, you pass away, again, your family gets that free consultation. You get invited to our Trust Care members only events. And coming soon, our web developer is just trying to nail down the last glitch. You're going to get an online private community with all of the Trust Care members, so you guys can speak wisdom into each other's lives. I can answer general questions every day, all day. But the biggest one, I think the biggest benefit of our Trust Care program that you already get is our 10x no probate guarantee. And that's what I mean when I say you need a guaranteed living trust. So Trust Care clients, you guys are fine. You just need to take advantage of your annual review meeting, okay? If you don't know if you're a Trust Care member or not, probably means you're not. You may have done a will or trust with us in the past, but if you're not a Trust Care member, it's probably time to come in and get an update. Do you want to know how to become a member? I see 3 hands raised. Is there anybody else who wants to become a member? I think those 3 hands have been raised the whole time. Okay, a couple more. Good deal. I will show you guys. Our Trust Care program is actually so many things in life are amazing when we see the result, right? Somebody passes away, their kids knew they loved them because everything was done right, right? We can see the stark difference. So you've been involved in nightmares after the death of a loved one. And while, yeah, there's infighting among the heirs, I know what's going on in the head. It's like, why the heck didn't my mom, didn't my dad take care of this? You guys know what that's like. And it looks simple when it's all done really, really well. Just like somebody who's like super fit, you know, they're like all muscles. It's like, oh, it's so easy. They just eat healthy and they work out. So simple. Simple doesn't mean easy. And so what I want to share with you guys is what we do to get started, and then a little bit about our different programs. There's this peace of mind list this is where everybody starts as a new Trust Care member. Okay, first, you got to have a private consultation. There's just no way to do this kind of work without meeting one-on-one with my team. So they meet with you, they go through the details, they cover the questions, they make sure you know what's happening, not the whole, everything that's going to happen the rest of your life, but the incremental steps that need to happen, okay? Give you a copy of my book, Pack Your Parachute. This is a book that goes through 12 areas of estate planning as a whole, so you can understand what all the tools are. And I believe that the more you know, the better about all of this stuff. I'm not, you know, there's so many people in my industry who just hide the ball, Don't tell them that, just get it done. I believe the more you know, the better. To give you something for your successor trustee, whether that's your spouse first or a child or a friend, whoever it is, they need some tools. They need to know what the heck to do. Most people have never done this before. Even if they've done it once before, they're not an expert. So the experts have written the guide for them. It's our Successor Trustee Handbook. We'll give that to you. Our Personal Information Book Organizer. Like I said, if it's all in your head, might as well not be anywhere, because in the middle of an emergency, I can't speak. I can't tell you what it is. When we were going through with my mother-in-law this year, through the last few weeks of her life, I promise you, I should know better, right? Me, the one teaching this class, we were absolutely way too focused on just spending the last few precious moments we could with her. We weren't thinking about, Grandma, where's your will? Grandma, where's your trust? Grandma, tell me where all your bank accounts are. Tell me where the insurance is. That is not what we're focusing on in those last few weeks. And we're lucky we had some time to know this was coming. Not everybody does. And it doesn't matter. If it's all in your head, you need a tool to help your family. Are they going to love you? Are they going to hate you? I don't hate my mother-in-law. She actually had it organized for us. So yeah, we still love her. Personal Information Book Organizer is what you use to do that. What's the value of these things? The private consultation's easily worth $500. You're going to learn so much in there, get questions asked, learn about the difference between what your choices are. It's worth a ton of money. I've capped it at $500 because you can't get that kind of value without that kind of return. The book, $25. I think it's got more than that in there, but at least $25. Our successor trustee handbook, this thing goes through stage by stage, duty by duty. It's not my Bible, which is 200 pages long, but it is the handbook, the short version that we can give you. So it's duty by duty. So the trustee knows, don't screw this up. That personal information book organizer, getting all that out of your head. I mean, imagine your trustee being able to go, oh, here it all is. That's easily going to save them hours and hours and hours having to take time off work, use their PTO. I put $270 on there because about $27 an hour if somebody's making that at 10 hours. What do we charge for that? What do we charge for you to go through and do that initial consultation and give you all these tools? Our office charges $75. It's a pretty good deal, right? I mean, we charge $75. So that's all it is. You get that first appointment. It's a $75 deposit, and you go through the process. You figure out what it is you need, and you get started as a Trust Care member. I forgot I put this in here. My wife told me, you have to put the, but wait, there's more. Okay, but wait, there's more. Does anybody else on the chat remember Billy Mays? Give me a raised hand. Yeah, the infomercial guy. He passed away really young a few years ago, and he was just like a big teddy bear. Like, you just wanted to watch his commercials. But wait, there's more. So my team said, Francisco, you got to do something really extra special. These people are going to stay up late. You know, they're going to commit dinner time with you. Give them something extra. So great, we're going to give you something extra. Our retire and relax asset map. We're going to put it in there. This thing is amazing. This is seriously one of those things where I wish everybody would do this for their clients. So for those of you that know, Keystone Law Firm does the estate planning, lifestyle planning does the retirement and investment planning. And that's the financial advisors and the financial planning and wealth management. That is where you get the one-page snapshot of your financial life and the future. And then if there's any issues that need to be addressed, some recommendations and ideas of things to fix. Who doesn't want that, right? The last thing I want is for my clients to go through 2007, 2008, 2009 with a beautiful estate plan that I created. And at the end of it, having lost all their money, they're going, why did I even bother? So yes, I care about you more than just what happens after you pass away. We want to help you make sure that you can live your dreams and then leave something as a legacy for your family. So all of that, $75, not a bad deal. My team kept saying, Francisco, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. So yeah, we're just going to waive the cost of that, all of that, $3,400 in value. For those of you who are ready to move forward. Some of you are like, Francisco, I don't like your style. I don't like any of this. Great. I hope you learned something. This is a great time for you to be like, I learned something. I'm going to move on and keep investigating and finding somebody I'm going to jive with. Please find somebody and get it done. But for those of you who are like, yeah, totally get it. Like, let's do this. I don't want to ever have to think about this again for the rest of my life. Then this is for you. You get all of that, all of those benefits. We're going to waive the cost entirely. Now, there's a couple, please, we please need to honor my staff and my team. This is going to get scheduled. If you no-show that appointment, we can't offer that privilege again. The privilege is gone. It's a one-time offer. If you're married, you do need both to attend. This first meeting is critical. It's about your life. It's about your family, unless you're doing your plan all on your own. There's some blended families where one of them comes to us and we do their plan alone. I don't know what your calendar is. I'm going to show you some of our available appointments and you guys can pick from them. If you're going out of town soon, I would grab one of the appointment slots and then call the office here. I'm going to show appointments here in just a minute. The whole thing about all of this is getting started. And so I've tried to make it as easy as possible for you. Number one, by making it totally free to get started. And there's no catch. You come to the appointment. If you decide after the appointment, no, I don't feel quite like this is for me, fine. There's no gotcha. Hopefully we've helped you make some decisions about what to do next. And hopefully you don't just end with, I need to think about it. That's the most dangerous place to be. And so I'm going to give you a certificate that actually proves you were here, that proves you get all the value of this, right? So you don't have to pay for any of that stuff. All of that will be yours as my gift for you coming tonight. Okay, so how do you schedule it? We've blocked off some of the consults just for you guys so that you don't have to try to, when's your first appointment, Francisco? It's in 4 months, like my doctor. Are you kidding? Nope. We knew we were scheduling this webinar a long time ago, so we scheduled it, and we scheduled and kept open some of the consultations. At the consultation, you're going to go over all of our different packages. I don't have time to go over all the differences between them tonight, and it's impossible for me to do it in a group setting. You will have specific questions. You'll go, well, what about my thing here and my weird thing here? And I've got this weird family member and whatever. The question will be, do you want your kids to love you? Do you want your kids to hate you? Pick the one that makes sense so that they love you, okay? So how do you schedule? Schedule and attend that consultation before September 9th. We've kept those open. Everything else is filling up. We've kept those open just for you. Anybody else who has a consult that's not here tonight, they've got to pay. But you're going to get that complimentary. So we've got these here, and will you send an email? Where's my typey box? Hang on just a minute. I'm going to have you send an email. Oh, no, my bad. Sorry, my team is telling me, no, Francisco, have them send a text message. I'm going to have you send a text message to, and I'll put it up on the screen. Let's see. All right, it is 480-269-0737. Send a text message. Let me make that bigger so I can put it on the screen and it's actually legible. All right, there you go. That should be visible on the screen. 480-269-0737. Send a text message with which appointment time you want. I don't have a magical system to figure out who's picking which one. So maybe pick two, or a first or second or third option. And then my team will coordinate those with you. And they'll call back, they'll get confirmation, they'll get you the information you need so you know what to prepare. There's not much you need to prepare realistically. They'll make sure you know so you feel prepared. I know all of you are going to ask, Francisco, do I need to bring blah, 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 blah with me? You don't have to bring anything. It can be helpful if you bring what you've done in the past. Yes, that can be helpful, okay? So go ahead and send a text message to that phone number. If you want to reserve one of those times, maybe just put down your first and second choice, and I will text back to you that certificate so that you get those things reserved, okay? 480-269-0737. Other than that, guys, I am all done. I think I have covered everything I needed to cover. I know some of you have a question about the, if I just updated it last year with somebody else, can I get on your trust care program? The big answer, if you've worked with someone else and it's been that recent, I would honestly ask them to update it for you. I can't take responsibility for just updating somebody else's work. It just doesn't work like that between lawyers. They have to be responsible for their work. I am responsible for my work. If you worked with somebody many years ago and you're like, they didn't call me back when the law changed. They didn't check up on me once a year. They just probably haven't created the system to do so. And so if you'd like to investigate what it's like to work with us, this is your next step. Create that appointment, talk to my team, and ask them, what is it like? And then if you do enroll, you'll literally get that once a year. We chase you down, we go through our checklist. What's up? What's up? What's going on? We got hundreds of families that we have to chase down every year just to see what's going on. But then also the legal updates. And if you're thinking, gosh, Francisco, I'm not sure if I really need to do anything. The answer is, do you want your kids to love you or hate you? We have over 150 probate cases active right now in my firm because somebody wondered that question too long. And some of those are in just big knockdown, drag out fights. Some aren't as bad, but they're bad. And it's really up to you to decide how important it is for you to get this done. We are getting too many appointment requests. They did give me some more. Awesome. There's some more. We've got all the way out to September 6th up here available. So go ahead and send a text message 480-269-0737. If you have any questions about anything else, you can call the firm directly tomorrow. And as long as you have that certificate that we're going to send out tonight to those who've attended, then you can use that. But again, you got to schedule it and attend by September 9th, or else you'll be back in the pile of those who have to pay for that appointment. 480-269-0737. And if you're just getting your calendar open, you're like, I don't know, Francisco, I don't know if I'm available. I recommend just grab a couple first or second best options and send a text message in, because we don't have all of them left. Awesome. I'm watching the text messages. They're not coming to my cell phone, by the way. They're going into our firm system. Any other issues that you have, just give my team a call. The best phone number to call there is the one that we have on our main website. I know the court system uses one phone number. You get a special phone number once you become a client as well. But if you're calling with just questions about anything really, then the phone number you want to call is a different phone number, 480-418-8448. That's just for questions. The intake team will answer whatever questions they can if you just have questions about the process and anything that happens. But if you want to grab one of the few that's left, let me see if we have any left. So it looks like we do. We've got a couple left. The September 6th at 4 p.m. is available. Both of the times on September 1st are available. If you request one and we can't accommodate because we're double booked or something, my team will call you and find another spot for you, just so you know. Okay. All righty. I think we are near our time, and I will leave this up for just another few minutes so that I can go enjoy dinner with my wife and kids, because I want to make sure they love me, not hate me for the rest of my days, right? But especially after I'm gone. So thank you guys for attending. I appreciate this spending this time with you. If you have any other questions, just call the main office number, 480-418-8448. Have a great night, everyone.